cannot sit by and do nothing. We wish the opposition would see this, because our constitution requires that they participate.
Long-standing issue, the compensation package for the Jamaican, especially rank and file members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force that he represents as their chairman. So let's see if we can get an update on the wage negotiation between the government of Jamaica and the Jamaica Police Federation. Without further ado, let me welcome on board right here at News Talk 93 FM, straight up with your stool, Conrad O'Brien, the man himself, Corporal Rohan James. Hi, Corporal James. How are you doing, sir?
Good morning to you, Conrad, and to your listeners and to my hard-working colleagues and those listening in the diaspora.
Corporal James, indeed, a number of persons are glued in the diaspora this time. I'm getting the icon coming up on my phone here. I see a number of them glued in, just hearing me just now or a few minutes ago, highlighting that we have some breaking story here to share with the Jamaican public this morning. And I gather that those would have basically emanated from the meeting that you had on Friday with the Minister of Finance, Dr. Nigel Clark. First of all, let me ask you, how is the negotiation going?
I would say, Conrad, not good. And it is time that I bring the members as well as the public up to speed. Mm-hmm. And for them to have an appreciation for what has been happening.
Good. So hold on. Before you get into this juicy bite, stay tuned, listeners. Can't move it. Don't move a muscle. Stay right where you are. But before you go there, just share with Jamaicans how protracted, both at home and abroad, how protracted the period of negotiation has been so far.
We have, since April, been engaged in this aspect of the compensation review. We, of course, you would appreciate that 2021, 2022, the government asked us to yield to a 4% increase, which was less, which we ascribed no less than a deceitful approach that was taken, and we felt for that.
A deceitful approach. That's a strong word. You're saying that you were actually deceived and maybe hoodwinked in signing off on that 4%?
Indeed, Conrad, because our members were worse off in terms of what it is that the government offer was. Inflation and other things would have eroded, and the subsequent increase in the NIS and tenders that swept away that 4%. That being said, that is the past. We are focused on the future, and we engage the government in this compensation review.
Speak up for me, Corporal. I want to hear you loud and clear. Speak up a bit for me, please. So far in terms of this round of negotiation for the compensation package? The new compensation package?
It could be as much as 6, Conrad.
As much as 6?
Yeah.
And you're saying, go ahead.
We have not advanced anywhere significant. A matter of fact, the meeting on Friday was an eye-opener.
So the meeting on Friday, now that's where the rubber, really, the proverbial rubber hits the road. Share with us what transpired in that meeting on Friday with the Minister of Finance, Dr. Nigel Clark.
His utterances, Conrad, to me, it does not place the minister and the government in a positive light, because what it does is to paint the position of the minister, painting workers of this country in a discriminatory position. And for good reason, I would say that based on his utterances, it's not an inability to provide the resources and the remuneration.
Hold on. Let's take it step by step. The Minister of Finance would have telegraphed to you on Friday that the lack of proper remuneration for the rank and file police officers is not as a result of inability to afford it.
It's not as a result of inability.
Mm-hmm.
It is as a result of what they perceive that we are not deserving of that compensation and the resources. And this has led me to seriously review our
Don't move from there, sir. Don't move from there, Corporal James. This is indeed very, very troubling. You're saying that the Minister of Finance telegraphed in that meeting that they're not moving the compensation for our police officers in an appreciable way is not as a result of lack of resources, but because they don't believe that you are deserving of it?
Indeed.
And how would he have basically put this across? How did it come across? What did he say in his own words, if you can recall?
The minister, in his very own words, when we ask about the alignment of our members to a particular group, made it abundantly clear that we could never be placed in that category of persons because our training is not commensurate to what expended monies those other groups would have incurred in terms of having to borrow loan to be so accredited. And I cautioned the minister in that meeting, and I told him that he was at pains to point out that I could not caution him, and he went ahead and he uttered what he uttered. So much so that it's as if he's to deduce from what he has said that police officers are done and that we are not deserving of being compensated in the manner that we believe that the risk associated with the profession deserves. And when I also pointed out to him that why is it that you have aligned yourself along that path and we are working, placing our lives at risk even without the resources, are you now saying to us that you have the resources and you are deliberate in your action and your effort to deprive us from being able to serve the citizenry of this country in the manner that you are? And he was beating around the bush, and I made it abundantly clear that I will have to now advise the public that even the minister's utterances, this police federation that I lead, will now instruct our King's Council to place squarely before the court the government of Jamaica, to include the Minister of Finance and our Minister of National Security, for failing to provide the resources to the men and women of the constabulary force.
Indeed, Chairman, this is breaking story. You're sharing with us here that based on the utterances coming out of that meeting, you are now serving notice on behalf of the Jamaica Police Federation, your men and women, to take the government of Jamaica to court for
failing to provide us with the basic amenities to perform our duty, thus putting our lives at risk and putting the public at a detriment in terms of their safety because we are unable to respond appropriately to the threat associated with what is happening in the scheme of law enforcement at this time in Jamaica.
And what would those things be?
Basic things like uniform, ballistic accoutrements, and weapons. Even the fact that the government and the lobby groups have expressed concerns about less lethal devices, we are void of that, and I believe since the minister has made that utterances, it has been an eye-opener. It has been contemplated. It has caused us to be mulling over what was said and to view it from an angle where we believe that enough is enough. We as a federation cannot no longer continue to play lip service to the men and women who we are elected to serve, and the people of Jamaica whom we took an oath of office to serve them diligently. And at this time, I believe that the rubber has hit the nail.
Good.
And we believe that in the interest of national security, we now must take a preemptive strike to ensure that the citizens of Jamaica and the men and women well-being and welfare are protected at best.
Good. I'm hearing some of my listeners is expressing great surprise, saying, what is this, Corporal James? Because what you're saying here is very, very frightening indeed. First of all, you're saying that the minister have expressed a view that the government is indeed in a position to compensate properly, but they don't believe, or he doesn't believe, that the rank and file, the police officers, are deserving. You're not at the threshold that you should be compensated at an appreciative level that you're asking for.
Indeed, you are correct in your analysis, Conrad. And I believe that many of our colleagues, and I must also point out to the public that this was a compensation meeting that involves a joint approach from the Police Federation, the Police Officers Association, and the United District Constables Association. All three groups were present when the minister made that pronouncement before all of us, to include the commissioner designate that was present at the time. And I can say without any fear of contradiction that the action of the minister was brought to our parent minister's attention, as well as other persons who is of political influence.
Did it reach the threshold, or has it reached a threshold as yet where you're involved the PM in it?
I believe that our minister would therefore brief the PM on what has transpired.
And indeed, it must be noted that your minister is indeed the Deputy Prime Minister, Dr. Horace Chang. Coming out of that meeting, you said that the officer corps of the police force was also represented there, the officer corps, and also the district association. I can understand that the district constable association, they would be on par with you, echoing the same vibe or the same sentiment that you are. What about your senior officers, the officer rank? What are their take coming out of that meeting? Were they left with the same sort of trepidation or concern as you?
We were all left with that, Conrad. It is that it was shocking, to say the least, and we had never anticipated that the Minister of Finance, and we all believe that, we all deduce from it that he was not a real politician, and that is why he was able to speak as candid as he did, because he was speaking from a position that I believe that would best ascribe as him having a vendetta against members of the constabulary force.
Having a vendetta? Hold on, Corporal James, you're going deep. You're accusing the utterances coming from the minister, liking to someone who have a vendetta against members of the police force.
And I say that without any fear of contradiction nor apology.
Oh my God. Well, I am sure that this will basically weigh heavily in the news cycle throughout the day and mainstream radio. Coming out of the meeting and basically sharing this with your membership, what are they saying? How is the energy? What is the mood of the police this morning?
Conrad, as any responsible leader would do, I will be going into a meeting with my Central Executive Committee at about 10:30, thereabout, and I will ensure that I chart the way forward and to update all the general membership because sufficing to say that some of our members are displaying some level of unscrupulous activities when you communicate to them how they treat information. And we have to take a particular approach to ensure that when we relate to them, the information is not tweaked and manipulated. So consequently, some delays in terms of what actually transpired on Friday has been delayed. But nonetheless, we will communicate with them, update them as to what transpired as a whole.
Coming out of with all of this, Corporal James, Chairman of the Police Federation of Jamaica, we understand that the police force is an essential body. Therefore, you're not at liberty to take strike action as other members of the public are able to do. However, you can do with things such as scout and so on and all of that.
No, Conrad, and let me correct that aspect of it, Conrad. Under no circumstances, we, as the chairman of the Jamaica Police Federation, would I encourage my membership to report sick and not to serve the public. Because this is why it is important to brief the public as to the development and for them to appreciate that at a time when we are grappling with crime, criminality, and corruption, and murders in this country being the second highest ranked murder capital in the world, that the government is playing a role and paying lip service to the issue of managing crime and providing resources to the constabulary force for us to operate efficiently, and for the public now to respond to our aid and to support us in our quest in being able to get the resources to properly police the space and to take charge. It cannot be that the government of Jamaica has divorced its obligation to the citizenry of this country to private industrial security companies and expect the safety and security of the nation to be appreciated and accepted at the standard at which it is now. It requires the same approach that was taken to the issue of the pandemic when COVID swept Jamaica, that it requires that holistic approach and that great capital injection for us to be able to nip what it is that would best be ascribed as homegrown terrorism acts being perpetrated on our citizens. And it cannot be that the police has to be fighting with our employers to get even the basic amenities to safeguard ourselves so that we can safeguard the citizens of Jamaica.
Good. Let me ask you this in closing, Corporal James. We're up on the break, madam. I want you for about 2 minutes, sir. So can you give me about 2 to 5 minutes after the break, Corporal James? Please, I'm begging you.
Sure.
All right, let's go to the break. Suka.